Remember when I said I didn't want to make the entire beginning of my channel full of negative videos? I lied. Kuvira is one of the least interesting, least charismatic, least threatening, and most poorly put together antagonists I've ever seen in my entire life. Korra went 50-50 with the villains. Amon and the Red Lotus I actually really liked, but Unalaq was ass, and even though Season 4 was naturally a giant shit show, Kuvira was just the extra dog shit to it. To let this video have some type of structure, I'll split it into 4 parts, just like the show. One of the most important things when creating a good antagonist is their charisma or personality. I don't know where this narrative of, well, if you hate them, then they're well written, came from, because I've only ever seen it used by people to justify terrible writing and unlikable characters. Alright, you can have a villain with a naturally unlikable personality, but their writing will make people like and get attached to them. You're supposed to hate Aizen and Griffith, yet they're some of the most universally loved antagonists in all of anime. He's a protagonist, but you're supposed to not like Walter White very much, and he's one of the most loved characters in general. They're so likable because they actually have charisma and their writing is good, so people love them. Mahito and Sukuna, on the other hand, are characters that you genuinely hate, but still acknowledge and appreciate their writing. You can't do this with Kuvira because the showrunners assume you're a dumbass and just spoon-feed you all the information about her when the plot deems it necessary. Personality is a driving factor in how audiences will view a character. If you have a good personality, people will like you. If you have a bad personality and good writing, people will hate you, but respect you and like you. But if you have a shit personality and shit writing, then you're a shit character. Nothing about Kuvira is interesting. She's like a walking plot device who only exists to drive the show forwards. She's a smug bitch, but not in a Gojo or Toph or even fucking Korra way. My friend says he hates the character archetype of people who think they're so tough and smug when they're just not, and I 100% agree with him here. And you know she's not tough because she uses a giant fucking Jaeger with solar beam in the climax. If you want the character to be a smug and cocky asshole, make them be able to back it up. The only actual fight Kuvira had besides like the final 2-second fight with Korra at the end in the mech was with a poisoned Korra in the desert, which is bad in its own right, by the way, and she lost! Also, she calls herself the Great Uniter, and I'm assuming she gave herself the nickname because, as explained in this series, the villages right after Kuvira gets them to join the Earth Empire immediately go back to shit the moment she leaves. And Bolin didn't even know about that, by the way. I get he's supposed to be the dumbass of the group, but surely some rumors from, I don't know, 90% of the entire Earth Kingdom would have made their way to the rest of the world by that point. Unless she's actually just hardcore locking everything down. So the people would probably stop calling her that, which leads me to believe she gave herself the nickname. And because she just acts like someone who would do that. Also, it's not even like that good of a name. Look at nicknames in real life. The Great, holy chills, Supernova. The Terrible, the Boneless, the White Death, the Lionheart, Dubronx. Like, come on, the Great Goodlater. Fuck you. Unlike the rest of the villains in the show, Kuvira presents no immediate threat at all. She's like the least intimidating villain ever. She's probably the weakest out of the 4 antagonists, but you don't need to be an unstoppable force to be intimidating. Sure, it helps, but a normal-ass dude who runs a fucking fried chicken restaurant is infinitely more intimidating than a metal-bending tyrant with a super mech. You know, for some reason, I don't think it should be that way. Korra had a whole arc of overcoming the poison Zahir put inside of her, so it makes you think that Kuvira is dogging on a fully fresh Korra, and then she gets one-shotted by the Avatar state, but it's immediately taken back with the whole stupid inner conflict thing with Korra. It just doesn't make me respect or think of Kuvira in a threatening way at all. There's absolutely zero stakes in this season, much unlike the other 3. Amon was imposing and cool and completely dismantled people who were at a respectable level of power, like the fucking pro-bender guy whose name I forgot, and Lin, who is still seen as strong across the entire series. Unalaq was ass, but the Dark Avatar and Rava getting ripped out of Korra presented an actual high-stakes scenario, even though she ended up getting saved by a Mary Sue. And Zahir straight up just murdered the Earth Queen pretty brutally for a kids show. Kuvira does nothing of the same caliber as the other 3, so there's really no reason to fear her. She's just a metal bender and a big-ass robot. The other villains taught Korra how to become a better avatar in ways you haven't really seen portrayed by The Last Airbender. And Kuvira is just Ozai, but bad. Kuvira is just a fraud who needed a giant Gundam to even appear as a threat, then loses the only 2 actual fair fights she has. It is very possible to create stakes and tension without physical power, but Kuvira just can't. And it's not like the writers of Korra aren't that good at this certain thing. They've shown competence in this literally last season with Zahir's introduction. A non-bender who is locked up at the top of a mountain in a cave that's guarded by 5 benders at all times is what I expect from the writers of Avatar, not baby Ozai with tits. So if you have a brain, you can see very clear symbolism in Kuvira about a certain painter from Austria. And before you say it, no, she's not Stalin, no, she's not Lenin. This is another problem I have with Kuvira. She's literally just cartoonishly evil, and the writers have no idea what to do with it. They already did a nation leader waging war on the rest of the world, and they did it really well. And they did it so well that apparently they thought, yeah, let's make another one of those, but you know that one evil German guy?
Let's go for that.
But this time, let's make her have a big robot with a magic nuke. That's totally what a nuanced show would do. Right? Right? She also doesn't give a shit about her fiancé at all. I mean, I knew she wouldn't just by watching the first few episodes, but I thought they'd at least, try to give her some actual human emotion. Instead, she just tried to murder him with a fucking final flash. She is so evil that they literally portray her as a parallel to who is widely considered the most evil person to ever live on planet Earth. What the fuck was the game plan here? You really thought people would be on her side after making her actually Hitler? If you want to be Hitler, that sounds fucking bad. If you want a character to be Hitler, you can't outright just say, oh yeah, they throw people they don't like into concentration camps. Yuha from Bleach has symbolism to Hitler, yet most people don't even know that because of how subtle it is, and because there's so much more to his character than that. Surprisingly though, some people actually do like Kuvira. It really makes you wonder how people would view Hitler if he had a rack. And just for the writers to be absolutely sure that they created one of the worst antagonists in media, they just had to top it off with some terrible motives. They just had to. You don't need incredibly complex motives to be a good villain by any means, but you need to make them interesting and understandable. Yeah, Griffith is an evil rapist. Fuck. Yeah, Griffith is evil as shit, but that speech where he's explaining his dream and how he won't give up after coming this far is powerful.
But if there is one thing I can do for them, for the dead, it is to win, and keep winning until I attain my dream, a dream they clung to and risked their lives for. I can't just step over the bones of the dead in order to realize it. My dream is already smeared with blood. I don't regret, I don't feel guilty, but I'd rather sacrifice myself than watch any more innocent children die in the name of my dream.
But, the world-class writers of the best cartoon to ever exist decided, yeah, let's make her sad about mommy and daddy. I seriously can't think of a single good antagonist whose main motive was their parents not loving them.
Well, Richard, how about a drink?
There's also the bit of Republic City being on stolen land. I can take that just about as seriously as I can about people saying that in real life. And it's not like I just hate women. I know some people who actually just hate The Legend of Korra because the main character was a woman, then they hate on the other women in the show. She's just a poorly put together character. Maybe if Ozai never existed, then she wouldn't be as bad. No, I'm just kidding, she still would have been shit. But the worst part about her is that we've seen this all before. Except the first time, there was no Shiki Oji mech, it was just the main character and the main villain throwing straight hands. And that's something you can just always appreciate. The final fight inside the mech doesn't count, the shit's ass.